All right, welcome to today's podcast. This is the Year in Music with DL. Today I have with me a guitar player from the Boston area, South Shore of Boston, a guy named Thom Knight. Tom, I just say hello.
Hello, DL and everyone else.
So Tom was talking to me on one of my live shows on YouTube, and we started talking about years in music because that's something that I did on my channel. And we figured we started talking about a year that was his favorite year. And I said, why don't you come on my new podcast? So, the idea here is we're going to talk about some things that happened in music in the year 1977 that kind of relates more to us personally, like what really affected us. This is not a show or an episode for us to tell you every song and every great thing that happened in 1977, but
There
more
was
what.
quite a lot of them too. A lot of
Oh,
great
it's
things happening.
it's just too much to name
Way
because I
too
mean,
much.
like just to bring something up, like songs like "Back in Love Again" by LTD. I wasn't a huge fan of LTD. In fact, I do like his voice, Jeffrey Osborne's, but when I think of
Mm.
77 for funk, I mean, for me, it's Earth, Wind, and Fire all in
Oh,
all.
all the way, man.
The All in All
EWF,
album is,
and you had George Clinton doing his thing. You still had James Brown. I think that was his solo
oh,
one.
yeah, no, Funkadelic versus the Placebo Syndrome
Ah,
came out in 77
yeah.
for Parliament.
Okay.
Yeah, which had Flashlight and Bob
Yeah.
was a big record.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm just saying there's just so much stuff. So why don't you tell me, since this was your favorite year in music, for me, most people that watch my channel know that I'm a huge fan of 1980, and I also love 78. But let me hear some of your 77.
There's so many good things going on in this year. Of course, we first started hearing rumblings from the UK about Sex Pistols, the whole punk movement. Elvis Costello was just starting to come out, and so what I remember being that young, I didn't hear any punk music up until probably 80. So when and I have very specific memories of the 70s, like myself, you are a student of the 70s, and
Yes.
there, and with that statement being said, there's something that was definitely going on in that decade, and being a product of the 70s and being brought up in the 70s, I really feel bad for, not to sound like an old man, but I feel bad for the kids nowadays, because what we were exposed to and what actually got in our bloodstream was the cream of artistry and music.
Well,
Uh,
I will say, I
but
think a lot of people with satellite radio are now starting to get a lot of that type of
sure,
exposure because terrestrial radio is just horrible in
it's
itself,
but
anyways.
but you're talking about a paid service, and I think satellite radio is a very niche market. And show me an 18-year-old who's listening to the 70s station on satellite radio, and I'll be shocked.
Well, no, no. What I'm saying is you weren't um, 18 listening to the
No,
70s either.
no,
You
I
were
wasn't.
you were five,
I was
and you
7.
were
I was 7
well,
years old.
well in 77. But I mean, mid
Yeah.
70s, 75. You were 5 years old.
Yes. Yeah.
So you're looking at you weren't making those choices, your mom
True.
was, and whatever was she put on the radio, we're all products of that. So like when I
Absolutely.
think of myself as a kid in like 77, I was probably more, well, I mean, I remember I was listening to like Kansas Point of No Return came on. Meatloaf was a big band on the radio at that time.
Yeah. And the Eagles, man. I remember just I have, like I
Sure.
said,
Well, I mean, I don't think they put anything out in '77, but
no,
it was
they
still
were
hot
doing
off the Hotel
the Hotel
California album.
California, yeah, which was all over the radio. I mean,
Yeah.
ELO, I remember being on the radio, and for God's sakes, you could not escape the Bee Gees. The
Yeah.
Bee
Oh,
Gees were killing it. Them and Fleetwood Mac were at the top
well,
that year.
Rumors was a big album
Rumors
for
was
the year.
huge, and you couldn't escape it. I mean, like it was everywhere.
There
And
are some great songs on that album too that people don't talk about. Gold Dust Woman is a really
ah,
great. The Chain gets a lot of play, but that's a great song. And
every song though, every song on that album, it's ridiculous. The
Steely
quality.
Dan Asia came out that
Ah,
year. It's a great year for music.
it's a fantastic year. And like I was saying before, it's like I feel bad for the kids of like the past decade, like what they grew up and were exposed to. It's all vapid bullshit. It's all concentrated on these Disney stars and the whole
Sure.
American Idol bullshit. It's like there's no depth. There's no soul, man. It's just
But I
gone.
do think like I have a niece and my brother who's born the same year you're born only plays that old '70s stuff in the car for his daughter. So she's 10 and anytime I'm in the car with her, if I put on any type of cool song from the '70s, she
Yeah.
knows every lyric. Steely
She
Dan,
okay,
Blame
but
It on the Boogie by the Jacksons.
there
She
you
knows
go.
it all.
But she's got someone like
Well,
I
I
had.
think
I had older brothers and sisters, and you
sure.
had siblings too. They actually paved the road for what you're exposed to. And fortunately enough, I was shown the Beatles, Pink Floyd, Jethro Tull, and numerous other acts. And it's like if you don't have that guidance as a youth.
If you look at the '70s, it's a product of the '60s. Now, I was very friendly with a lot of guys who grew up in the '60s, and they
Yeah,
always say they think the '60s was better than the '70s.
and
And
it
that's their
is.
opinion.
It,
Oh,
you
I
know
don't
what?
think so.
It is to some degree. It is. I mean, if you want to look at
Well,
culture and the door being kicked down,
well,
absolutely
it's
the
definitely
'60s.
whatever you're exposed to. But if I was to go listen to something from the '60s or early '70s or late '70s, I tend to like the later '70s. It's just what I prefer.
Yeah,
But what I
absolutely,
but my
absolutely.
point was when you have kids growing up in the '60s and they become the players of the '70s, and
Yeah,
then you have the '70s people who grew up become the players of the '80s
of
and
the
somewhat the early
'80s.
'90s, and so on and so forth, that it just
Yeah,
keeps getting worse. But what
yeah.
happened recently is that music has been dead since, let's just say, early 2000s, in my opinion.
Oh, I would go even before that,
I
but
think there's some
I'll
good
agree with
stuff
you.
in the '90s. I think some
Yeah,
of the '90s.
definitely, definitely. At least people were picking up instruments and still being artists and not, you know,
Yeah, I don't. So, but I think what I'm trying to say is that today people are now looking at satellite radio, and the kids growing up, the parents have satellite radio, and so the kids are growing up being once again products to those '60s and '70s because you have '60s on 6 and '70s on 7.
with your point there, I can remember, some of my earliest musical exposure. My mom was listening to stuff in the house, and the stuff she was listening to was the Beach Boys, Johnny Mathis, Frank Sinatra,
Sure.
um, Andy Williams,
Yeah.
that stuff. And
Yeah, it's the
and
stuff
the
my
stuff
parents listen to.
yeah, the stuff our parents listened to was not, it kind of goes like anything your parents listen to, you stay clear from because it's considered old and you don't want to be, you don't relate to it is my point. You're looking at what's current and what kids are into and your peers. And I think
Still
like
doesn't still affected you as a person and as a
it
player.
definitely, absolutely, when you're hearing the harmony of the Beach Boys, how can that not affect you?
When I was a
It's
kid, we would listen to Al Wilson Show and Tell.
oh
Um,
man.
Me and Mrs. Jones, Brooke Benton, Rainy Night in Georgia. Those are the songs I remember as a
Yeah,
kid, and harmonically, those chords stay with me. But
absolutely. It's
again,
gone, man.
that's a little early 70s. I'm curious. I want to hear 1977 and
Okay,
tell me why that year to you has become your year of.
okay. Bee Gees.
Yeah, what was the
Um,
Beaches album that year? Was
that
that
was
Saturday
Saturday Night Fever
Night Fever? I
soundtrack.
mean, Saturday Night Fever. Was that yeah,
Soundtrack
77?
was
Okay.
77. Yeah. Another interesting point is there was this separation of disco and rock, which was like a basically a blood feud. You were either a disco person, you were a rock person, and the divide there was unbelievable, and there was so much great stuff on both sides.
Asia, I know, came out in 77, and
Yeah,
Fleetwood Mac Rumors, and there
rumors.
was
You
one of
had
my favorite Queen albums. So for me, it was like Queen, News of the
huh,
World,
yeah,
Billy Joel, The
Billy
Stranger was
Joel,
great.
yeah,
Big Pink Floyd,
Pink
Animals.
Floyd, Animals. Oh man, and to touch on that, Pink Floyd did the first in '77 quadraphonic sound in concert in
Oh yeah,
'77.
yeah. Well, see,
Um,
and then also like for me, I was really big into the hard rock stuff. So
yeah,
Scorpions Taken by Force was a good album
awesome.
for me. And Styx, The Grand Illusion was big when I was that age.
You can have
And
that one.
there's another, oh, it had some really good stuff. I actually like the album afterwards, Pieces of Eight, which is my whole argument for why I think 78's a better year. But I think, and not just because of Styx, I mean in
Hmm.
general, but I think AC/DC Let There Be Rock, Jackson Brown's Running on Empty.
Yep,
That's,
and we still had a huge tour of Zeppelin going on in '77.
right. They were
They
touring
weren't,
the Presence album.
yeah, they weren't in the greatest shape, but they were still out there and they were still ruling. Huge,
So I had
huge.
a friend that went to see them in Long Beach then, and
Okay.
he snuck in with a press badge, and he got right into where they with a camera, and he was pretending to take pictures the whole
Ah.
time. One thing was he was like, "I should have put film in it."
Yeah,
A
that's a
real
sign of the
knucklehead.
times right there.
But yeah, I mean, there was like a lot of different things going on back then. There was some one-hit wonders like Player
Pablo
with Baby Come Back.
Pablo Cruz.
Flo Cruz did What You Gonna Do
What you
that
gonna
year.
do? Awesome guitar solo in
Was
that.
that Place in the Sun album? It's
Uh,
time to find your place in the sun.
yes, I think
Yeah,
so.
Place in
And
the
we had
Sun.
we had Rush doing Farewell to Kings.
Yeah, which
Awesome.
again is a little early in my taste of Rush. I tend to
I
think
love that album.
it's a little self-indulgent for my taste, where I was more of a pop Rush. Like I
Yeah,
really like Moving Pictures. I mean,
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And you had James Taylor. Uh,
yeah, what album?
Handyman was his big song then.
Yeah,
You had the Brothers Johnson with Strawberry Letter number 23.
it's a great song. I like a
David,
lot of funk stuff. I think the
yep.
Ohio Players had a record then
Ohio
called
players,
Angel
yep.
that
The
had
Commodores. Yep, the Commodores doing Brick House.
Brick House. Hold on.
Yeah, never heard it.
No. I'm just
Someone
trying to think of
should
the
know
album. I think that album in 77 was the album. For some reason, I think of the album with Zoom
it.
and Easy.
Let me see.
I thought it had Zoom and Easy if I'm thinking 77. Um, what the hell was that record called? I think it's just called The Commodores.
It is just Commodores.
And it's blue, right?
Yeah. And the B side was Captain Quick Draw. That does not ring a bell to me.
No, I don't know that one.
Yeah.
I knew Brick House, Easy, and
Yeah.
Zoom. There was
Great
another
stuff.
song on that album. I can't think of what it was called. It wasn't a big hit, but it was a good song.
Yeah, Marvin Gaye. Gotta give it up.
Oh yeah,
Ramsey Lewis, Rita Coolidge, and of course, Donna Summer. with I
What a
Feel
song.
Love, which
Was I
was,
Feel Love in 77?
yeah, yeah.
I would have put that as, I always thought that was around 75, 76 with Love to Love You, Baby. Wow. I didn't
Yeah,
realize.
yeah, it's listed as 77.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, there was like a lot of good music then. I mean, music today, you're not going to hear like, I mean, even, wasn't Book of Dreams this year too in 77
Dreams.
by Steve Miller Band?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes. Yeah,
And
Fly Like it. I think Fly Like an
no,
Eagle
Flying
or
Eagles
no,
earlier, I believe.
earlier. Yeah,
I think it's the year before, 76 maybe.
had Foreigner, Cold as Ice.
Oh yeah, the first Foreigner album, the greatest song on that album is a song called I Need You.
Mm,
Really great vocals on that
that's a
song. I
great
love that
album.
album. Yeah.
Steve
But
Miller was Jet Airliner.
Jet was seven. What do you
Uh,
mean? Oh, that year. You mean yeah, it's on Book of.
yeah,
Well,
that
there's other
song.
songs. There's another couple of big hits on that album. Bad Company had a terrible album this year. Burning Sky,
Ah,
one
great
song.
song.
Great song, one song on the album. Not
Yeah.
good enough to be good.
So on the Steve Miller album, we had Jet Airliner, Wintertime, Swingtown,
Town's
True,
the big hit. Yeah,
True Fine Love,
that was a big hit.
Wish Upon a Star, Jungle Love,
Yeah.
another big hit, and some other ones I don't know. The Stake,
Oh, love the
Sacrifice,
steak. The
My Own
steak's
Space, and
you know the
Babes in the
steak. The
Woods.
steak's one that goes, nobody loves
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah.
like the way I bounce, bounce, bounce,
Oh, Rocky Mountain Way.
down, down, down. Exactly. Rips Rocky Mountain Way. Exactly.
Yeah, great album though.
Turning, turning, down, 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 down. I love the steak.
Yeah, great.
That's a great, great song. Do you remember what was the band Tavares? They used to, it was I had a couple of 45s in 1977. One of them was Who Done It by Tavares.
I've got a great story about Tavares. So I was born in New Bedford, Mass.
All right.
And the street I lived on, the Tavares brothers, a couple of them, I think there were two brothers, lived 3 houses down from my house in New Bedford. And they were huge in 77. Of course, they made it onto the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, and they were like neighborhood kids. Just everyone knew where they lived, who their mother's house was.
Yeah, what did they do on that album?
They did.
Oh, was it no? Heaven Must Be Missing an Angel. Was that them?
Yeah, that's them.
Heaven.
And they did the Bee Gees cover.
Oh, that was it. More Than a Woman.
Yep, More Than
That
a
was
Woman.
what was on the album. Okay, yeah.
They were huge, and they would come home once in a while and visit the boys' club down the street. Excuse me. And the neighborhood I lived in was, to say the least, tricky to navigate. I was the minority there, and I remember being at the boys' club, and they actually showed up one day, and it was like they signing autographs and stuff. Wicked cool guys, just hometown heroes, and they were just so big then. Really killing
Yeah, I
it.
loved. I always loved Who Done It. I had that
Ah,
45,
Who's
and
the baby?
yeah, I
Who
love it.
done it?
And
Great stuff.
another 45 from 1977 I had. Well, it's two others. One was from Hot Legs, from Footloose and Fancy Free by Rod Stewart.
Rod Stewart. Yeah, I was
And
just going to bring him up.
also Native New Yorker by
Oh.
Odyssey.
Wow.
I love all, and I know you're a funk guy. For those that don't know, Tom's very much into like funk and soul.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, I loved all that stuff. And
Yeah, man.
it's
That
just
was
you're
time.
not really hearing anything like that anymore. And
No,
you think about all the music, we haven't even really delved into what 77 had to offer compared to what's going on today. If you look at, again, I always say this, if you look at the last 10 years of music, I can name more music from 1977 that you would find enjoyable and that's great than you would in the last 10 years of music. You know,
Absolutely.
it's just,
Absolutely.
and I don't know if I mentioned Billy Joel the Stranger, but
You
I did a
did,
thing on
yeah.
Billy Joel.
And we
And
got
off that album, you had Vienna, you had Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. I mean, it's just beautiful
incredible
stuff.
writing. Incredible writing. Like
Yeah, just great stuff.
Skinner was still yeah, What's Your Name by Skinner.
Well, the
Psycho,
big album came out that year. They died that year. So that was
yeah.
Street Survivors.
Street Survivors. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So I know a
Talk
little
about
and
killer rock and roll.
yeah.
Was that Give Me Back My Bullets on that?
No,
No.
that's the album before, that's on the album I think called Give Me Back My Bullets.
Oh, It's been a
Yeah.
while since I delved into Skinner, and recently I went on kind of a binge on like not the popular songs, but working for the MCA.
Hmm.
Um, On the Hunt has got to be my favorite Skinner tune.
Yeah, it's one of the best by
Love
far.
that song.
It's one of the best
Killer.
by far. Well, also you got
So,
to remember this year Peter Gabriel was solo
yep,
when he came out with his first album with
Talking
Salisbury Hill.
Heads, Talking Heads,
Talking Heads album, and
10cc.
that's not a big, and I'm not a big fan of that Talking
I'm
Heads
not
record.
either. I'm not
Uh,
either, but
in
huge
fact, I don't think
song.
they put a great record till 1980, oddly enough.
Yeah.
Um, AC/DC, Let There Be Rock, another
Ah,
one of not one of my favorite records from AC/DC.
killer stuff.
Aerosmith, Draw the Line, another one again.
Draw the line. Oh
It's not my
man.
favorite Aerosmith record, but it does have my favorite Aerosmith song on there, Kings and Queens.
Awesome. One of my favorite ones too.
And another great song that came out then, besides I Brought a Player, Baby Come Back, and there was some other one-hit wonders, but 10cc had a hit
Things
that
We Do
year
for Love.
yeah, great,
Yeah, man.
great.
Andy Gibb.
Oh yeah.
I Just Want to Be Your Everything. Um, Heartbreaker by the Bee Gees. Baby, What a Big Surprise by Chicago.
Hold on, Heartbreaker by the Bee Gees was a hit then? Because it became a hit later for Dionne Warwick.
It sure
That's for
did.
sure.
It sure
Um,
did. It says here 77 Heartbreaker by the Bee Gees.
wow, that's funny.
Wondrous Stories by Yes, one of my favorite Yes songs. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Fanfare for the Common People.
Oh, okay. Kiss Love Gun, 77.
Did they play on that?
Oh yeah, that was what's his name produced that record? Eddie Kramer.
Did Anton Fig play drums on that one?
No, he didn't come in till Dynasty.
Okay.
He came in on Dynasty in 79. But Thin Lizzy, Bad Reputation is
Oh,
77.
Sound and Vision by Bowie. I know you're not a Bowie fan, but
Oh no, I love that. That album's called Low.
Low.
That
Okay.
had the song Sound and Vision. Yeah, that was a
Okay.
great one. And
Yeah.
also Chic's first album with Everybody Dance.
Oh
And
man.
yeah,
Now
that
you're
was
talking.
70. Yeah, that was
Oh,
77. I think Chicago had a record out the end of the year
yeah.
with Take Me Back to Chicago. And the big hit was Baby What a Big Surprise.
Yes. Supertramp, give a little bit.
Yeah, Even in the Quietest Moments was the
Yep.
name of that record. And Baba G
Clapton.
was on that.
Was that
Slow
Slow
Hand.
Hand? Yep.
Yeah.
Huge
Which,
album for him.
well, it had my favorite song by him, which is
The
The
Core.
Core. Yeah, The
Yeah,
Core,
man.
exactly.
Great stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. Great
great
album.
one.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it is. And there's a lot of great stuff. I mean,
There's so many things. And your counter year was 1980, which was also
80's
just
a yeah,
fucking
80's a
killer.
tough year to beat
It
because
is.
80, I'll tell you why. 80 already had some of the new wave bands and some of the bands like Van Halen were like in
Yep.
full swing.
The
The
Police.
Cars were in full swing. The Police were
I
in full
know.
swing.
It's tough.
But
It's tough.
but yeah, so 77 though is a good year to look back on. I would say if you had to name your two favorite albums from the year.
Oh, ouch.
It's hard.
Yeah. Isley Brothers, Go for Your Guns.
You're not telling me that's one of your favorite albums for the year, is it? Are you?
It's one of them.
Seriously, I thought you were
Seriously.
joking at first.
No, man. That's got everything on it. Everything. It's so killer.
Yeah, I'm not an Isley Brothers fan.
Ah,
Not a,
really?
not a fan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, was the Gap Band doing anything in '77?
Oh, when did Shake? I think it might be a little early for them. I think their
Yeah,
stuff came a little later.
'79 maybe they started kind of
I
popping it.
can't
Yeah.
remember the year. I just remember them from the early '80s.
Neil Young, I think, had like a hurricane that year.
Yeah. All right, I'm
Yeah.
gonna say if I have to pick a favorite album of
Oh, sorry.
1977,
I lost track of thought there.
it's okay. I'm gonna
Um,
say for me, Steely Dan Asia would definitely be my number one album that year.
yeah, I gotta go. I gotta go. Definitely in my top three for that. Absolutely.
And then maybe Pink Floyd Animals for me.
Animals.
It was
Yeah,
just
man.
such a big record for me.
Same here.
And again, not in 77, but I was really big into Animals in the late 80s
Me
when I
too.
refound that album.
Me
And
too.
Dogs is
Oh,
brilliant.
the
Pigs,
whole
three
thing.
different ones.
It was
Sheep.
interesting what they were doing too on that tour. They would play all of, I think, Wish You Were Here, and
Oh,
then they would do the second part of the show would be the whole Animals album.
oh, really?
Yeah, I've got quite a few bootlegs where some shows are Dark Side of the Moon and Wish You Were Here,
Yeah.
and then Wish You Were Here and the whole Animals album. So I think they opened up with Animals, and then they came back for an intermission with the whole Wish You Were Here thing. Unbelievable stuff.
To
Man.
reiterate, I just want to say for me, 77, Steely Dan Asia, and for us and Pink Floyd Animals, and maybe Billy Joel the Stranger. It's there's so many great records that year, but I will say it's hard that year to look at music and not find everything really, really good. And again,
Yeah.
if you're an early Scorpions fan, Taken by Force is a great record. Just
Yeah.
great. Just
And
great.
and you could say this about every decade. There was some complete shite out there too.
We'll definitely have to have you back when we do the battle of the years because I think 1980 for me is going to hold to be the strongest. What's going on with you musically? Are you playing anything soon? What's
I
happening?
am not. I am not. I'm still in physical therapy from the accident, and I'm finishing that up. Just been writing my ass off, basically. I'm looking to actually do some recording. Hopefully, coming up in the summer of 2020.
Nice.
Get into the studio and do just a small EP of some originals.
Nice. Well, we look forward to hearing it and having you
Yeah.
back on.
Hope to have some music available to the public, and I will be
Nice.
starting a YouTube channel where people will be able to get out and hear that stuff and be a
Cool.
little more visible online.
It's very good. Awesome. Tom, great having you on here.
Thank you so much, Dave.
And we'll talk soon.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for listening and very good.
Cheers.